Hi there, you're welcome to our Student Spotlight series, and today we're speaking to Anna Burke, who's in second year and taking the Bachelor of Science degree. Hi Anna.
Hiya.
You're in Wexford today. Can you tell us a little bit about how you ended up in Maynooth as a second year student in science?
Well, I originally wanted to do teaching, actually. So Maynooth is really good for teaching. So I went to all the open days of Maynooth, and I just fell in love with the campus and Maynooth in general. So actually all of my top 5 CAO courses were in Maynooth. It was decided I wasn't going anywhere else.
But you had gone to other open days?
Yeah, a couple. Not on the other side of the country, all the WIT and the TCD and those kind of ones. UCD as well, all this side of the country anyway.
Okay, so what was it about Maynooth that made you list us as your top 5 preferences?
I don't know. I think I went to this physics lecture, or physics introduction, because that's what I thought I was going to do. And your man who was doing it, Peter, he was just so engaging, and he loved it so much, clearly himself. And that, and also South Campus, just made me fall in love with it.
Okay, so for those who haven't had a chance to come to the campus yet, what is South Campus, and tell us what's so special about it?
South Campus, obviously North Campus is all the newer buildings and the fancy up-to-date buildings, but South Campus is all the cathedrals and the seminary and all of the really old buildings, and Logic Hall, the maths and stats buildings down there, and it all has this really, really cool feel.
So it's quite a contrast, isn't it? So from north, as you say, the North Campus is where all the development happens. The South Campus is St. Patrick's College, of course, is there as well, and which we share on the South Campus. But you studying maths, that's where your lectures and tutorials will be, I guess.
Yeah, I think most people actually don't do anything on South Campus unless they have exams there. For their whole 4 years, a lot of people don't really interact with South Campus. But just because most of the maths and physics lectures are actually down there, that's kind of how I ended up being on South Campus so much.
Nice. So tell us about those lectures, those maths and physics lectures. How many, you're in second year now, but if you remember back in first year, what was it like walking into your first maths lecture? How many were in the room? And
it was massive. It was completely wild to walk into a room with 300 people in it for the first time. And it was all stacked down like that. So I sat in at the back, and you could see all these heads in front of you. It was just such a big change.
And did you find that in any way kind of a bit overwhelming, or did you settle in okay?
No, it was really nice to be able to you'd have your own friends in these massive lecture halls, and you'd have your 4 or 5 people, but other than that, no one really knew who you were. So you could walk in with mad makeup or whatever you were wearing, and nobody knew who you were. Nobody was going to be like, oh my god, you see what she was wearing?
Yeah,
there was never that kind of fear. So that was really cool for the college experience, I guess.
This is it. This is the freedom of going on to college, and maybe you get to express yourself a little bit more than you might have done in secondary school. You're wearing a uniform, of course, so that's part of the difference.
Yeah, it was so just even if you were experimenting with something, you could just do it, and you didn't have to worry about anyone other than your friends noticing.
So speaking of friends, did you have friends from school that came to Maynooth as well, or?
I did, but we all just kind of made different friends in college and drifted apart. But I knew a lot of people coming in, all right.
So back in school, what were you studying for your Leaving Cert?
I was doing maths, physics, chemistry, and art, actually.
Okay. So strong STEM, interest in the STEM subjects and the science.
Yeah. I thought going into college I was going to do physics. That was what I had my heart set on.
So how did you decide on, if you were interested in Maynooth, you had 5 choices there. how did you kind of decide what's going to be your number one? Because that's the big ticket one, isn't it, really, deciding on that?
I think I did what most people do in their CAO, and I got, the one with the most points and put it on top. So the top of my CAO was theoretical physics and maths. And now that I'm in college and I know people doing that course, I'm so glad I didn't get into it.
This is it, isn't it? That's the challenge. Of course, it'll suit some people very well, but that's why they always say put your first preference as the one you know you really want to do, because if you're in a course you don't like, it's not a very happy experience.
Yeah, well, I think that's the big thing about general science. You can go into it thinking you're going to do one thing and come out of it doing something completely different.
Okay, great. So that's what you ended up going into, was the general science degree. And will you tell us about first year and what your subjects, how you decided on your subjects?
So when I went into first year, I picked experimental physics, theoretical physics, obviously maths is compulsory in general science, and chemistry. And then after a couple of weeks, I was going, oh my God, I can't sit through this chemistry. It's just, I was doing like fifth year chemistry, and for me, I couldn't get through that. I found it boring because I hadn't been that interested in chemistry. And then someone said, why don't you do computer science? And I was like, okay. And at the end of the 5 weeks where you could change your subject, I hadn't gone to any computer science lectures, and I changed into computer science, and I ended up loving it.
Right. Okay. Well, that was a bit of luck, really, wasn't it? So the chemistry, I guess the reason why they do leaving cert level is because it's open to students who haven't taken chemistry with their leaving cert, isn't it? So that's why they kind of maybe go back a few paces for students, so that everyone can catch up and be at the same
I think
level.
That's great. You could come in with literally no prerequisite chemistry apart from junior cert chemistry and do chemistry, and I think that's so cool.
And so the same with computer science. So you wouldn't have done it before, and here you find yourself in computer science lectures. And was it immediately a good fit for you, or how did you find it?
I think I struggled at first because I missed the first 5 weeks, and I had to do the 5 first labs all in one go. I had 2 weeks to do them, but I went to the Computer Science Society, and they really helped me out. One of the lads there sat down with me, and they taught me all of my first couple, hello world, that kind of introductory stuff. And then that's kind of how I've done it ever since. I have my computer science friends, and we all kind of do sit down and bash through stuff together.
Right. Okay. So it's a really kind of collegiate type of a thing then, you're working together. And is group work much of a part of the course in terms of assignments and continuous assessment?
Not so much. I remember in first year, at the start of every lab, there was a group activity, and you had to either do pair programming or find a group of 3 or so and do the programming together. I think in second year they do that too most years, but they haven't this year because it's online.
Okay. So you mentioned labs there. Can you just explain the breakdown within computer science and indeed the other science subjects that you're taking in terms of class time? How does that break down?
Well, in most of the STEM subjects, you have a couple of lectures a week and a lab and a tutorial. So tutorial is an hour with an older student, and it just kind of breaks down your homework or breaks down last week's homework. And it's really good for kind of getting a different perspective on it. Then the lectures are, where you get the content from the lecturer. You can interact with the lecturer and ask questions and stuff. And then the labs are kind of where you get down to actually doing it and actually seeing what this is about. In computer science, it's a little different because they give you a problem and you solve the problem, and you can do it before the lab time. You can just come in and submit your solution and see if it works. But in I don't know about chemistry and biology, but in experimental physics in first year, you come in and there's a setup. There's an experiment, and it's kind of your traditional leaving cert experiments, but you do them you do them by yourself, I think, for the most part in chemistry and biology, but in experimental physics, what I was doing, you did them in groups of 2, and yeah, you do your lab and you do your write-up, you submit it, and you get a mark out of 10. I think that's true for most of the labs, but the computer science labs are a little different in that it's kind of just you by yourself, fix your problem, and you can leave the lab whenever you're done.
Okay, so now you're in second year, and when you finished first year, you had to decide to continue with 3 of your 4 subjects. So you obviously continued on with the 3 that you have, and you're now facing into semester 1 exams.
Yeah.
So it's January, and that's the time of year for the exams. So they're next week, is that right?
Yeah, they're all next week. I have one Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then I have a project due on Sunday.
Okay. So are you feeling prepared?
No. I don't think anybody feels prepared for exams, though. I don't think you can ever be like 100% I got this.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me about a project in any of the subjects that you're taking that you've enjoyed, or even a module within one of your subjects that you've found really interesting.
Well, I'm doing a project for CS210 right now that I'm really enjoying. It's
What's CS210 for those of us who don't know what that means?
Oh, it's data structures and algorithms. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just it's a computer science module. But the project is there's like you have to pick a game, like any kind of simple game, like Hangman or X's and O's or any of those, and make it playable on a computer. You have to be able to play against the computer, and then I have to obviously do a write-up about it and what I've learned and all of that kind of thing.
Wow, yeah, that does sound interesting actually. And is that like you're taking statistics as well now, aren't you, in second year?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
And do you think then going into third year, how you could, that's the way it works, isn't it? It's 4 in first year, 3 in second year, 2 and 1 or 2 in final year. So what are you thinking in third year?
Definitely the computer science. I'm not entirely sure whether I'll go with maths or stats right now. I haven't fallen in love with either of them, but I'll probably pick whichever one I feel will do me best in the future. Probably stats. I mean, probably the stats will probably do best by me in the future. As it is, I'll have to find my own internship or placement. I can do like a summer internship. I know a lot of people who've done summer internships. I'm currently applying to them and hoping to get one for the summer. But
what are the options in summer internships? What do you mean, and what are the options?
Well, it's stuff like Google. Like Google has its STEP program, and Intel, and like Oracle, SIG, those kind of companies. I think they tend to put you on a team with like a couple of people who are experienced, and you kind of work independently for the summer, and you do get paid, which is nice.
Yeah. There's also research internships in university as well, aren't there? That students can work with researchers in their departments and apply for those kinds of work placements as well, or research placements.
I'm trying to think what they're called. The
SPUR placement, I think.
SPUR, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
One of my friends did that last summer, and she won like best project or something.
Great.
Yeah, like I think those are really cool in that you get to work within your degree. I think it's kind of safer than trying to apply for one out in the real world. Sure. Like, you're more likely to get it, and it's less like scary because you're working with lecturers and people that you might already know, and like I think it's quite cool. But you read the project list and it's a little bit intimidating.
Yeah. What else did you join, or are you a member of?
Math Society and Women in STEM was fantastic, and Computer Science Society. Those are my 3 big ones.
Okay, what happens in the Women in STEM Society?
They're really cool because they're not really aimed at any particular like subject, but they're about getting into the industry. So they'll do like CV workshops and LinkedIn workshops, and there'll be a Google event that anyone can go to, but they'll organize a big group of people to go, so you know where you're going. And they're really, really interesting, and they're really nice. Like the girls in it they're final year girls. They've been here for a while, and when I was in first year, you could just go in and chat to them, and they'd be talking about what it's like in the industry, what it's like in
network. Then, as you say,
they're really nice.
What would you say has been the biggest surprise? I guess I'm just wondering if after the open days that you came to, if Maynooth has sort of lived up to what you expected it to be.
Oh yeah, it definitely did. I didn't think that I'd be social in college. I wasn't in secondary school, and I didn't think that I'd come into college and want to join societies or want to go out and meet new people, because I just wouldn't have been into that before. But that's all I did not all I did in first year, but that was a big change for me in first year, to be interacting with new people and finding people that were interested in what I was interested in. For a huge amount of people in my degree, we were all interested in the same things.
That's great. So you kind of found your tribe, as they say.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, well, just to conclude, do you have any words of advice for somebody who's considering Maynooth or the science degree, or both?
Well, I think anybody who's considering science at all should definitely do general science, because no matter what you're thinking of doing, if you're thinking of going into pharmachem or any of those like specialized degree astrophysics, you can go into those from general science, but along the way you might find out that you're more interested in something else. I definitely think that if you were interested in science, you should start it off in general science.
And just to say on that, it is possible for most of the specialised degrees to make a sidewards move from the Bachelor of Science degree. Not all, and places are limited, but it is certainly a potential there for students who maybe want to go into something more specialised from the science degree.
Yeah,